the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. So your fruits, your nuts, your seeds, your legumes. And after sin, in Genesis 3:18, he said we could also eat the herb of the field, which is the vegetable, okay? Plant-based nutrition preserves health, it heals, and it restores. Here's why I believe that God gave us these things, is because he understands that what we eat affects us positively or negatively. And here I'm going to share a quick testimony again. I have had a love affair with sugar my entire life. And even if I come off of it for a few months, I will inevitably, somehow it sneaks back into my system, or I buy this or that, and here we go again. So several months back, I asked my husband and daughter to pray for me, and I went on a sugar fast again. I was nothing but sugar. And I wasn't planning properly this particular day, and ended up, there was only 2 things that I could eat at the vending machine. I know I look for everything with GMO. There was a candy bar, so I got 2 candy bars after being off of sugar for 2 weeks. Wow. And later that evening, I had some of my favorite granola, which my daughter, my older daughter, had sent me. I think that was a Tuesday. Then Wednesday, a coworker knew that I liked that particular candy, and he said to me, can I buy you a treat, Wilda? So I said, sure, okay, whatever. So went and got the candy bar, and I ended up, one day later, not even doing anything major, I ended up pulling out my back. And I didn't know why, but I said to Rick later, as that was Thursday, the Friday I was sitting at home just moving around, could hardly put on my own clothes, and Rick and Alicia went to work and school. And I was there, preparing mentally for the Sabbath, and the Lord said, you need to repent. And I said, okay. And I thought it was because they didn't know that I had eaten sugar, and they're still praying for me. So it was as though I was deceiving them. And I said, okay, so I confessed that the next morning. But at the same time, the Lord showed me, he said, your inflammation in your back, while you threw your back out, is the sugar. Sugar is one of the major issues with inflammation in the body. And so I said, Lord, I really have a lot of hard lessons to learn, and I thank you. So I had to confess. My husband and I prayed together, and so far no back problems. But I'm very careful about the sugar. All right, so again, my husband read these earlier, but our eternal destiny depends upon strictly temperate habits. Temperance alone is the foundation of all graces that come from God, the foundation of all victories to be gained. Think of temperance as balance. Not too much of any good thing, and abstain from all that is harmful. Here's another quote. God's people are to learn the meaning of temperance in all things. They are to practice temperance in eating, drinking, and dressing. All self-indulgence is to be cut away from their lives. Before they can really understand the meaning of true sanctification and of conformity to the will of Christ, they must, by cooperating with God, obtain the mastery over wrong habits and practices. So whatever your vice is, mine is sugar. If yours is another thing, we need to cut it away. I'm sorry, but I lost where that quote is found. But I'm sure if you look up eating, drinking, and dressing, you'll find it. But not only did God give us those foods in the beginning, it is his desire to take us back to that. He wants us again to return to these original principles. Another reason God gave us the food that he gave us is because he knew that perverted appetite is a demonic stronghold affecting millions of the human family. Yes. There's some of us that can't pass the fridge. unless we open it up and see what thing we can taste or eat. Ellen White writes in Temperance, the controlling power of appetite will prove the ruin of thousands when, if they had conquered on this point, they would have had the moral power to gain the victory over every other temptation of Satan. But those who are slaves to appetite will fail in perfecting Christian character. I am happy to stand here and tell you that he not only undertook the temptation of appetite in the wilderness of sin, but he overcame.
Amen.
Amen.
He, Christ, withstood the temptation through the power that man may command. He laid hold on the throne of God, and there is not a man or woman who may not have access to the same help through faith in God. Man may become a partaker of the divine nature. Not a soul lives who may not summon the aid of heaven in temptation and trial. The byword is, it is written. So let us immerse ourselves in the Word. Let us learn the Word so that when we're faced with temptation, we can do the same thing. And ultimately, God never changes. He gave us the original diet. He wants to return us to that original diet. He has not changed. And we can trust Him. So let's look quickly what constitutes a balanced plant-based meal. This is our recommendation to patients, and the one disclaimer is this is for a healthy person. If we're dealing with someone who is sick or has a particular illness, we would not necessarily prescribe this, okay? So you want 50 to 60% of complex carbs. You're talking here about your whole grain breads, your whole grain cereals, tubers like your sweet potatoes, your yam, plantain, your cocos, breadfruit. And then you want 30 to 35% of simple carbohydrates, and then 5 to 15% of pre-digested protein, seeds, or healthy fats, such as a sunflower seed butter or avocado or some kind of homemade yogurt. Unsweetened is best. And tofu. You will notice that I put seeds in here because for breakfast, you're going to eat fruit. Fruit and seeds make a much better match than trying to mix nuts, which are harder to digest than seeds. It's also best if you can soak your seeds. Soaking removes enzyme inhibitors, which God has put in place so that that seed does not sprout spontaneously whilst in the fruit. He wants it to sprout when the right conditions are met in the garden. But when we ingest those, we don't get all the nutrition that we could out of those. So sprouting or soaking nuts is always best. And that was just our disclaimer. This is largely for anyone who's already in good health. Here's a fruit combining chart. Sometimes you'll notice that if you try to mix melons or bananas with certain fruit, you start burping. The reason being is some acidic or very sweet fruits don't do well with especially melons and bananas. Eat melons by themselves, and then your bananas, you don't want to mix them with high acid fruits. This is our balanced lunch guidelines. Overall, for your day, you want your lunch to make up 35 to 40% of your daily recommended calories to maintain your energy level. Of that meal, you want 50 to 60% in complex carbohydrates. You're thinking here of your cruciferous vegetables, your tubers, your green. For plant-based protein, you want to look at pulses or lentils, stuff like avocado. Also, when you're combining always think to combine foods that would make a perfect protein. Black beans, brown rice, a perfect or complete protein. When you're mixing garbanzos, garbanzos is one of the most complete proteins there are. They're only missing one amino acid, and that's methionine. So you would mix garbanzos with quinoa, which is high in methionine, and that makes a complete protein. So educate yourself a little bit. What things will create a complete protein to keep you nourished, to keep you healthy? Balanced supper guidelines. You want a lighter supper. You should become eating progressively lighter, or eliminating that last meal altogether if not needed. I know for me, I don't need a last meal. I could probably go on one. But for those who need it, don't feel any way about having it. I would just say make sure that it's either fruit or vegetable. Don't combine the two. And that's from Spirit of Prophecy, not me. Here are some of our supper ideas. We have crudites with homemade hummus. We'll also do sometimes fruit salads. My husband and I like to do green smoothies in the evenings. Homemade granola and some homemade yogurt. Some berries, cherries, with popcorn. And we like to also do little pita pizzas with vegetables. There's some lentil soup, and that one is on tuna sandwich. So I make it out of chickpeas. You can also do smoothies, or one of my favorite is avocado toast, which I haven't had for a while. It makes me want some. We also highly recommend doing a detox, cleanse and detox. And I know some people will say, what does a cleanse and detox have to do with nutrition? Well, if your system is gunked up, you haven't had a cleanse and detox for a while, your body is not going to absorb the nutrition readily. In fact, it's going to have to do its cleansing work, taking longer for you to even absorb what you need to.
How often do you recommend a detox?
We recommend twice a year, unless you already have a health issue. Then you probably will want to cleanse more frequently at first, say once every quarter. Like say somebody who's on a cancer protocol for us, we would cleanse them much more frequently. Why? Because the foods we're giving them is breaking down the cancer in their body. And so we want to help the body get rid of. A lot of people don't even die from the cancer, they die from the toxicity. I don't know if you read, but during COVID, I said to my husband, wow, that celebrity died or that celebrity died. And when I'd read, often they died of sepsis. So they died of a toxicity issue. Their blood was so toxic, that's why they died. There's a unhealthy colon, and that's a healthy colon, and this is an actual drawing of someone's true colon. And how old was she, dear? 47?
Yeah, 47, female.
47.
That's an actual picture.
47-year-old female, and this was the condition of her colon. And you know, my husband was telling you about the young man. He passed something from his colon that was so huge. I don't know how he got it out of there, because none of my children's heads were that big, you know. But he passed it, you know, doing one of our cleanses. But his mother couldn't. She had to break it up with a stick. So this is often the condition that people are facing that have like some kind of chronic illness. So important to cleanse so that you can actually uptake the nutrients you're putting in there.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do you do two things before they do a detox? Do you prep them to do a detox, and when they're finished with the detox, do you prep them to go back?
On their protocol? Yes, yes, yes. And I guess I should say it for the camera. She was asking, do we prep before and after a detox if somebody's on a protocol? And the answer is yes. So here's the characteristics of healthy and unhealthy bowel movements. Kind of hard to see, but for the healthy, you want a rich brown color. Any pale or ill-colored stools often tells of the condition of your liver. You want low to no smell. If it's really foul smelling, then you have a combination issue there, like maybe you had fruits and nuts, or a very sweet dessert with a lot of protein will also produce foul smelling stool. So you have to look at food combinations. Floats, it should be floating. That tells you how much fiber you have. If it sinks like a rock to the bottom, that's not good. Very low fiber. It should be soft but firm, but hold its shape. If it's hard and cracked or a bunch of little balls together, that is not good. It usually shows that you have some kind of constriction going on, where just little lumps are coming down. And it should be 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters in diameter and be colon shaped. If it's thin and stringy or small lumps or greater than 2.5 in diameter and difficult to pass, that is not good. This is the Bristol stool chart. This is what you're looking for. Stool that looks like that. It's smooth. Here you can tell this is dry, but not as dry as here. And when it's like this, little rabbit droppings, not good. If it's loose like this, again, not good. Acid is too high in your system. These are different shades of poop. Beginning with a cleanse and detox program offers some very definite benefits. And that's why we often, I think, Rick, you begin everybody on a cleanse and, okay. So, yeah.
What time of year do you recommend?
Rick and I used to religiously do like in January-ish and then in fall, but we've been bad. I guess we need to get back.
Spring, it's not a good time?
Spring is a good time, but we like January.
Spring cleaning.
Yeah, it's January. Why I think we like January is because it was after the holidays, and sometimes we eat at friends and family who aren't the most kosher. So it was a good time to get ourselves ready for the new year and to work. And then again in the fall, because our family, a bunch of us have birthdays in the end of summer. So it was like, either travel or too much birthday cake or something. All right. Here's the benefits of a cleanse and detox. It alleviates constipation. It purges the colon, staves off a cleansing crisis. I also have a testimony about that, but I won't keep you. When you don't cleanse first, then that fruit and vegetable needs to do the cleansing. However, it's much more slow that way. So toxins build up in the blood, and your liver and your eliminatory organs are overwhelmed, and so it starts to push it out of your largest organ. Who knows what the largest organ in the body is?
I know.
Your skin. 13 pounds of skin in the average adult human. And for me, that happened because I didn't understand this. So I'm telling you from experience, if you're going to clean up your act, start by cleaning out the colon. Okay? Because all of that toxins were in my blood, and my body's like, get it out, get it out, get it out. So I was just covered from head to toe with a lot of eczema, a lot of rashes, because my body was trying to get out the toxins that had built up over time. It's also a wonderful way to rid the body of parasites, especially doing it in comparison with some antiparasitic herbs. It also cleanses the palate. My husband's particular formula, like I told Sister Baker, who's willing to be a guinea pig, it is very bitter. And bitters, they reset the palate. So if you're having problems, like when I'm really stuck on sugar and I'm having a tough time like cutting back off of it, I go take some of his formula for a few nights. It will reset my taste buds, so the next time I want a cookie, I'm like, whoo, that's sweet. Because it will be too sweet. My palate has been cleansed.
How often does your taste buds mean they change?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I will find out. And how often does your taste buds renew?
It changes every time your pH goes either too high alkaline or too high acid, or too low acid.
I heard every 30 days, every 60 days, something like that.
It goes by what you eat.
So it also makes it easier on your GI tract to assimilate the nutrients, which was my point all along. If you're going to eat nutritious food, make sure you're assimilating it. It's so expensive to live this way if you're not growing your own food. You want to utilize what nutrients you're putting in there. So here's my recommendation. Do a cleanse and detox program at least twice a year. You want to drink a minimum of half your body weight in ounces of distilled water. That way a 200-pound adult would drink 100 ounces of water a day. And that is a minimum. Your urine should be pale or light colored and not foul smelling to be properly cleansing, okay? The kidneys and the urinary tract. Follow a colon cleanse by or in conjunction with a mild liver cleanse. The program my husband uses, he does a mild liver cleanse by you're having to drink a certain amount of quarts of lemon water, which naturally cleanses the liver at the same time. The liver also, whilst it does so many things in the body, it is a part of the eliminatory system because it helps to rid the body of toxins or stores it until it can be gotten rid of. You may need to repeat the detox in a month or so if needed. You'll kind of know you'll start to get sluggish again. You want to do a series of enemas or colonics in conjunction with that cleanse. And I highly recommend drinking a lot of red clover tea. Red clover tea is a very good blood cleanser, and it tastes good. So, you can add a little lemon juice to it. It's a very good tasting tea. We don't add any honey or sugar to our teas, but it's very good.
Why is that?
I've never really loved the taste of honey or sweetener with my teas, but I know Rick never does. He'll drink the very bitterest teas without any sugar. So, try dry brushing the body. You can buy a brush and always brush in a circular motion towards the heart. Starting from the farthermost part, brushing circular motions toward the heart. Ladies, do not brush the breast area, and you don't brush anything above the neck, okay? Rest more frequently if needed. Sometimes when you're cleansing, you will feel really sluggish. You've stirred up all that muck in there, and you'll have a very tired, lethargic feeling. Take a good probiotic to help rebalance your gut flora. Take a sauna or steam bath, and drink a little charcoal water for digestive issues.
Between a sauna and a steam room, what is the recommendation, or both?
I think they both have their place. We prefer a sauna. We have an infrared sauna at home, and we like it because our head is left out. So our whole body, you want to keep your head cool. To me, it just makes more sense. I've actually known people who've had febrile seizures because their body temperature went up too high and it affected their brain. So just in protective measure of our brain, I need every brain cell that I can keep. So, the other one is also eat 1 to 2 tablespoons of cilantro every day. Cilantro is a natural lead and heavy metal detoxifier. So also is spirulina and chlorella. Thank you. Drink coconut water. Anybody with high blood pressure or any kind of urinary kidney issue should be drinking copious amounts of coconut water daily.
Is that the best for your coconut water to buy, or just try to make it yourself? It doesn't matter.
I would say obviously fresh is best if you can find it in your area. But my husband and I also have good benefits. We're not near anywhere that sells fresh. So we try to buy organic. We try to find one without sugar, without added sugar. And we do find that it helps to replace lost electrolytes, give you a little energy, a little boost. And do you feel that it helps with the kidneys and such?
Coconut water?
Even the boxed one?
Yeah, it does to a degree.
Okay.
Definitely.
Cilantro, you chew it,
Yes, the chew the
you
cilantro.
don't mix it in something. Or,
I do. I do. I love it in my green smoothies. So I put it in there as well.
Salad.
And salads. But yeah, chewing it is the best way, I was told.
Saliva good.
Instead of chewing it was better than juicing it. So however you want to include it. Stardom.
You say when you're dry and brushing the body, you're brushing away from the heart?
No, toward.
Towards
Always
the heart.
toward the heart.
Okay.
Dry brushing, just so you'll understand the physiology of it, it actually helps to stimulate the lymph system, which is like they'll want to say it's like a second circulatory system. And it follows some of the same patterns and tracks back to the heart. So that is the reason for. All right, going through these really quickly, some common pitfalls to avoid, and I find this especially in Adventists, and I'm speaking to myself here. We will come off the meat, but we will consume too much sugar, fat, and salt. During the pandemic, I blew up 20 pounds, and I've had a struggle getting it off, and it was largely because my coworkers, very sweet and caring, were buying me a whole bunch of vegan processed food because they wanted me to participate in whatever they were eating during the entire pandemic. Full of all the vegan food, it's processed, it's full of sugar, fat, and salt. Sister White says, from the light given me, sugar when largely used is more injurious than meat.
That's true.
These are some of the problems with sugar. Sugar is an empty food which takes more energy for the body to utilize than it actually feeds the body. It provides dangerous spikes and falls in blood sugar levels. It feeds pathogens, yeast, and cancer cells. It is addictive. It is a chemical. And that's why people have a difficult time. I know a pastor at home that we worked with, his wife, he was a first day pastor. He came off cocaine, crack cocaine, but he would consume so much caffeine and sugar. They're chemicals. So he just left one and went into another. And I tried to explain that to him, but he didn't quite grasp it. So, but we can pray for him. It develops into a mild alcohol when combined with milk and oxidized fats. And Sister White warns again and again, and research has proven that milk and sugar should never be combined. Buttermilk and sugar are even worse culprits because they oxidize. They're oxidized fats. And then it stores in the body as fat. I also overheard, I think it was Sister Lily talking about fatty liver. Fatty liver is often caused not just by an amount of fat stores, but sugar will store as glycogen in so be careful of the sugar intake as well. And of course 5 minutes, okay. It suppresses the immune system. So here's another pitfall that we want to avoid: overeating. Sister White said, overeating even of the simplest food benumbs the sensitive nerves of the brain and weakens its vitality.
You never know we're going to get it again.
What?
When you overeat something good.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, I've told myself some of everything. Undernourishment. And I do know that some people, when they adopt the health message, they're a little panicked about what foods to eat. And I know that I have been like that at times too. I become overwhelmed, and so I don't want to eat anything also. And so I know she puts this, that, and the other in her food. And so, you know, there's always that opposite that you can go too far into. Too spicy food. It irritates the delicate lining of the stomach, and Sister White said it makes the blood feverish. And here's another pitfall: losing the reins when being away from home. Try and stick as far as possible to your normal routine. When you get off of it, as Rick and I and Alicia know, when we're traveling, it's hard to get yourself back into that mode again. To supplement or not to supplement, we are often asked that question, so I like to put that in here. We believe in supplementation largely because the soils are depleted. If yours are missing, then I say supplement, because there are certain things that we become depleted in over time simply because, one, we don't vary our food, or two, we buy store-bought food all the time, and the farmlands soils are definitely depleted. My husband has, I think it's from back in the 1930s, Congress was told that the farmland soil was deficient in so many minerals. Okay, finishing up here. Here's a few more guidelines that I always tell patients when we're working with them. Do not consume liquids with your meals. Your stomach stops digestion to separate out the liquid from the solids. And during that process, the solids begin to putrefy or spoil. That's why some people have smelly stools. It also depletes your stomach acid, so you're working against yourself. Drink 15 to 30 minutes before, and then drink up to an hour, 2 hours after, depending on the time of year. Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and supper like a pauper. Vary your diet with simple, whole, and living foods. Do not eat the same things over and over. Eat a high raw diet. See how you can avoid cooking your foods, sprout them, soak them, eat them without putting fire to them. Eat fruits and vegetables at separate meals. They have different enzymatic requirements in your body and call forth for different enzymes. Also, that mix and matching can cause disruption in the stomach, cause smelly stool, problems with digestion. Combine foods properly. You will notice as you're doing these things that when you eat certain things, you don't feel well. And just leave them off or eat them in a different way. If you're having fruit after a meal like this, you might find eating it without the fruit is much better for you. Prepare your own meals at home. Thoroughly masticate every bite of your food. Your stomach doesn't have any teeth. So whatever digestion, and some foods are digested in the mouth, it starts there. Sister White says this: avoid very hot or cold foods. It shuts down the system. If it's too hot, the system goes, wait, we got to cool it down. If it's too cold, the system says, we got to warm it up.
Hot also causes cancer.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I just learned something new. Alrighty, eat in a timely fashion. Whenever possible, take a short 15-minute walk after meals. And finally, eat several hours before bedtime. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.